Welcome to another Signal conversation. I'm very excited about this one. Something of a follow-up from the Signal Summit last summer. We're here with Tisha Livingston, the CEO of Infinite Acres. Tisha worked in Ohio and is a native of Cincinnati. She worked in Ohio in the food industry at 80 Acres Farm and then moved to the Netherlands, where she's now CEO of Infinite Acres, which is a subsidiary of 80 Acres Farms. It's a technology company whose mission is to provide the best technology available to grow the highest quality produce near population centers throughout the world. Welcome, Tisha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, I'm really excited about this. When I first learned about it, I was like, we have to go deeper because it's really, really exciting to think of what you're working on scaling around the globe. So let's get into it. And for the audience who doesn't know Infinite Acres and your parent company, give us the origin story of how you came to be and what your mission is.
Yeah, so Mike Zelkin and I founded 80 Acres almost 7 years ago. And the reason why we founded that company, or this company, is because we believed that people should have access to fresh, healthy produce year-round. Our previous jobs led us through a broken food system, a broken supply chain, seeing that food was being grown in the fields, farmers were struggling not to make a lot of money, and the consumer was continually disappointed by the quality and the nutrition that you had. We knew that people wanted fresh produce. They wanted to put more and more fresh fruits and vegetables into their diets, but we knew that the food systems that we currently had wouldn't allow for that. So we started on a journey and we started looking for different solutions. We thought maybe we would build greenhouses in close location to different communities that needed the fresh food. And we quickly realized, though, that greenhouses really are hard to manage. They still have a lot of variables. And so we started researching this crazy thing called vertical farming. And when you think about 7 years ago when we started, people thought we lost our minds. You know, vertical farming, that really wasn't a thing yet. No one could imagine that you'd be able to grow indoors and do it profitably. So we traveled all over the world and we talked to some of the foremost experts. We were in Japan, we traveled all over Europe. And we quickly realized there wasn't a solution yet. And so we were going to start figuring it out. So we started building small systems, started building small farms, and we learned that, you know, what plants liked, what plants didn't like, what customers and consumers liked and what they didn't like. And we really began just growing our business in a small way. Then we thought that we were confident enough to really start building a system. And so we met a partner, and this is how I get to Infinite Acres. We met a partner called Priva. And Priva is one of the top horticulture companies selling climate systems and fertigation systems. But they also were very interested in indoor, and they were really on the forefront of the technology 6 years ago. So Mike and I decided to take a bet and work with Priva, partner with them on building our first vertical farm. And so we did, and that's our SD facility. So when we built it back, it came online early in 2017, it didn't work. It didn't work at all. We were killing plants left and right. Didn't work. It didn't work. And so, we went back.
Before you go on with the story, Tisha, I just want, if you could paint a picture of what, for the audience who's listening, you know, what did you build? It's something of a food factory warehouse automated technology. You know, give us a sense of what it is.
Yeah. So what it is, so a vertical farm is, or our vertical farm is 2 buildings within a building. And so we had a high wire system that grew tomatoes on high wire vines. So imagine 7 feet, 8 feet high. And then we had a multi-layer system that was, we had 4 layers stacking one on top of the other. So short crops, small crops like lettuce or basil will grow in the multi-layer. And then we had the single layer. So we picked this building that's sitting on SD Avenue in Spring Grove Village in Cincinnati. It was in need of some love and a future. And Mike and I purchased the building, and then we decided that we would build 2 small grow zones. So if you think about, we're bringing all the water, we're bringing the airflow, we're bringing the light, we're bringing the temperature into these rooms that's perfect for a crop to be able to grow in. And
But
then
yet
we
it
can
didn't work the
stress.
first time.
No, it didn't work. There was a lot of things about the system that just didn't sync up, and we had humidity problems, and we had where we couldn't dehumidify, and the plants were growing too fast, and the cells were exploding, and we weren't getting any tomatoes, and we weren't getting any lettuce, and it just didn't work. And so Mike and I said, well, we have to figure this out. And so we went to Priva and we said, hey, this isn't working. We're just going to go try it on our own, because you know what, this is everything we have is tied up in this farm. We have to figure it out. We appreciate that it's a little bit of a hobby for you. And to the credit of the owner and the CEO, Miney, she said, no, this industry is too big, or is going to be too big. This industry needs your help. This industry needs our help. We need to be strong together. Let us help you fix it. And so together we started working and trying to figure out the problems, because, you know, a lot of times when you have technology, it looks great on paper, and in a pilot, it makes sense. But when you start scaling it, you have all these scale up problems. And so what
Right.
Mike and I were really good at was driving improvement, driving scalability, understanding manufacturability, understanding the client, the customer. And what Priva was really good at was creating that perfect climate for a plant to grow. And so being able to combine all that together, we decided that, you know, we were going to figure it out, and we did. And when we figured it out, we're like, okay, we have a lot of learnings here. Let's put it together in a company so that we can then take it all over the world and really start changing the way that people eat food, change the way you grow food, make sure that you can eliminate pesticides, you can eliminate or reduce drastically the amount of water that's used. And so we formed Infinite Acres together as a company. So Priva and 80 Acres formed this technology company. Well, shortly thereafter, there was another company that came in called Ocado. And I'm sure some of you probably know who Ocado is. Ocado is a technology company that started the online grocery world. So when you think about the largest online grocery retailer, it's Ocado. Some people might think it's others, but it actually, for grocery, it's Ocado. And they said, we want to be able to transfer our knowledge in warehousing and food delivery into vertical farms. And we think that you guys have the best technology out there, so we want to partner with you. And so they did.
Wow.
And so we became
All this must
Infinite
be
Acres.
relatively recent,
Yeah.
because as I
Yeah.
understand, you opened a big facility in Hamilton, Ohio, just
Yeah.
last year. Is that correct?
That's right. So it was in 2019. It was 2 years ago when we built the facility in Hamilton. But in 2019, we formed this joint venture between Ocado, Priva, and 80 Acres. And out of that joint venture, we built what we called our reference design farm, which is the farm in Hamilton, which is the largest automated facility that we certainly had built. And so that's the facility that currently is servicing so many of the stores in our region right now, in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, and parts of Tennessee now. So
Now, give us a little bit of a sense of the scale of that facility, in terms of how many people can it feed, or how many stores can it deliver its product to it, and then we'll get into how that might scale.
Yeah, so we think about it in terms of maybe salad servings, and so we can do about 5 million salad servings out of that facility a year.
Wow.
But this was kind of our baby plant. So when we started, we started small with SD and with containers, and then we built our next farm. That's what we call our 10K farm. And then we built our vine farm, and then we built 70K. Now we are taking the learnings from this farm and we're scaling in northern Kentucky, and we'll be so our farm there will be about 4 times the size of the farm that we have in Hamilton, and we're also
Wow.
scaling in Atlanta, or near Atlanta, and that facility is going to be 5x the size of the farm that we have in Hamilton. So we're taking those learnings and we're scaling them up even further, and we're adding even new technology, new improvements, lessons learned, really codifying.
Now, I could imagine a sort of a high-end business where, consumers who might not be as price sensitive are saying, well, I'm willing to pay a little more because this is pesticide-free or organic, or, a brand that is a new technology that is closer, has a lower carbon footprint, I imagine, fresher. I've
Yes.
tasted, by
Yes.
the way, the salad, and it's extraordinarily good.
Thank you.
But can this scale economically to the point where you can compete with sort of the traditional food industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're already there. When you look at the salads that we have on shelf at mainstream grocery stores, we are at parity with organic. And so the thing is, we can continue to drive efficiency through control and through knowledge of the crops and through genetics to be able to get to the right unit economics to be able to be comparable. And when you think about, often people in that are kind of questioning the industry, they say, well, how could you compare to field grown because the sun is free and you guys are using LED lights? And the
Right.
the answer I have is, well, let's be honest about the full supply chain and think about every step of the food supply chain that a poor leaf of lettuce goes through to be able to get on shelf in the grocery store, because you're harvesting that, which not everything comes up out of the field, it's inefficient, and then you're transporting it to a processor and a cleaner where they're sorting through to get the rocks and the dirt and the frogs and everything else out of it. They're washing it, and then they have to dry it, and then they have to package it, then they have to store it in cold storage, then they have to get it into distribution. There's so many touch points, there's so many issues through that supply chain and temperature abuse that the quality of the lettuce that's becoming your salad, the cost of that, the cost of the carbon in every one of those transportation steps adds up, and everybody's got a
Yeah.
margin on it. When you think about our
Yep.
farms, we are seeding, growing, we are harvesting, we are packing and distributing all in the same place. And
Yeah.
so that really
So
drives
you
a
really
lot of efficiency.
collapsed. Yeah, you've collapsed a supply chain. You've collapsed middle,
Yeah,
sort of the middlemen, if you will. I
that's
could
right.
see how that'd be quite efficient. But in the few minutes we have left, tell me, how does that scale around the globe? You're in the Netherlands. I guess I would imagine you have ambitions to have these kinds of farms everywhere
Mhm.
there's a population center, maybe multiple ones. Like I would imagine.
Yeah.
What is this? What is the scope of your ambition, and can you scale to it?
My scope is wide and big. We can build these farms anywhere that there is food insecurity, anywhere that you have large population growth. So when you think about the Netherlands and you think about Europe, they're in a food crisis right now because of the energy costs, because of the even the climate in the Netherlands has changed dramatically over the past 10 years, where they're really struggling within their greenhouses. This is not a long-term solution, growing in the Netherlands and shipping it all over the world. And so being able to provide fresh, healthy produce in these communities. And the other thing I wanted to bring up too is not only is it affordable, and people think that it's, you had mentioned a little bit food for the wealthy, but it really is, when you think about it, the amount of nutrition and the fact that it lasts longer in your fridge. When you go through that supply chain, that product is 11 days old before it gets on shelf at the grocery store, before you can take it home. People hate it when
Wow.
their food gets bad. And so being able to be in close proximity to where the food needs to be consumed, reducing all of the supply chain, cutting all of the waste out of the process, and doing things that are better for the earth is really what we're all about. And I am
Absolutely.
seeing it now, and I am 100% convinced that if you think about Australia and the floods that they're having, they've lost 3 crops this year. They had fires, they have heat. Even the heat here in Europe that they had and the drought that they had, there are a lot of
Sure.
pressures on our food supply globally. And, we need to be prepared to scale where the food is needed. And so that's
Well,
what
how
we're
fast
working
do you
on.
think you can scale, Tisha? Do you think you can, if you had, you know, no problem with access to capital and you
Yeah.
could scale as fast as you wanted to, how fast could that be?
Well, we have a lot of lessons learned right now, and so we've incorporated those into the next design. I would say for us, the thing that would limit our scale is within the supply chain right now, availability of parts, availability of equipment. But if I could
Right.
fix the supply chain there, we have great partners that are preparing us to scale. So it's not just this little company out of Cincinnati, but we have the likes of Siemens behind us, Priva, Signify, the lighting company. We have so many, Ocado, we have so many partners that are sitting behind us, helping us and wanting to help push us to scale. That it's much bigger than just us. That we have a lot of great partners that they're going to make sure that we can get this around the world.
Well, I have to say, it's very exciting to think of this kind of a revolution in how our food is grown and distributed, and the impact of that on water systems and energy systems, and not to mention, we just get fresher, better food. So I absolutely
Yes.
wish you the best. When we publish this, we'll make sure to put all manner of links, including a great video that takes you inside one of your manufacturing facilities. Tisha Livingston, thank you so much for joining us for this Signal conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.